miles. That's the name of the game, right? There's one way to ensure that you get the most miles out of your day, and that is proper time management. Want to know more? Let's talk about it. Hello and welcome back. I am Trainer Allen, your OTR driver instructor. All right, you guys. So I want to start off this video by making something very clear. This video is not for experienced drivers, okay? If you've been driving 5+ years, chances are you don't need this video. You've already got this, okay? Now, that said, there are many drivers out here who have been out here for many years that don't get this. So, if you're a student watching this, new trainee watching this, understand that you're not the only one that's going to be having problems with this kind of thing. In fact, if you've got a trainer that doesn't have a lot of experience, they're probably having problems with this very same thing. All right. So that said, if you are a new driver, the tips that I'm going to give you, they will seem excessive to many experienced drivers, but not all. You will get to a point that these tips will seem excessive to you. You will know more about traffic patterns and what to expect for your drive time through certain areas the longer you drive. But for just starting out, the tips here are a good rule of thumb to make sure that you aren't late and to make sure that you learn as safely as possible over your first year or so without overly upsetting your dispatcher and load planners, because ultimately, guys, they control your miles, right? So we don't want to upset the dispatchers and load planners. Your dispatchers may push you to go quicker or to plan your trips at a faster rate. Don't do it. Plain and simple, don't do it. You may and will more and more as you get better at your job make better time than you planned. But your dispatcher is not driving your truck. Do not allow them to tell you when and where you need to take a break. Okay? Ultimately, you're the one responsible for any accidents, any parking tickets, and for you getting appropriate rest while you're out on the road. Not your dispatcher. Not your load planners. Nobody else but you is ultimately responsible for those things. So keep that in mind. 5 other quick tips before I get into the meat of this video. First, do not hesitate to check with customers about appointment times and locations. Okay, sometimes the dispatch that you get and the times that you get aren't going to be right. Okay, sometimes the times that are listed are going to be just whatever is set in the system for you to be there, but you may be able to pick up earlier. Or you might not have an appointment at all. It might be first come, first serve. Okay, so do not hesitate to check with the customers about your appointment times and their locations. The locations are important. Okay, sometimes the addresses that you get on your dispatch aren't going to be right. Okay, so don't hesitate to call your customers and make sure you know for sure where you're going and what time you need to be there. Second, use Google Maps satellite view for helping determine where you can park and for the best approaches to a facility. Okay, on Google Maps satellite, okay, you can see a place pretty well and around the area. Okay, make sure that you know which way to come in to get to that location that's going to work best for you. Some places you're going to be backing in directly off the street, and if you can come in and make an approach on your left side, that's the way you want to be, right? Okay, so keep that in mind. Use those Google Maps. There are multiple apps for finding truck parking. Trucker Path is probably my favorite, but there are many out there. Find one you like and use it. It'll help you in so many ways. Next, fuel locations. They may be set by a company. Okay, some companies set your fuel location. They say, okay, this is where you're getting fuel today, or this is where you're getting fuel on this trip. Okay, and some will even say this is how much fuel you're getting at these locations. Follow those and try to utilize those stops as best as possible. You know, plan the stop, get as much done as possible. Get, use it as a potty break, use it as a rest break, use it as a food break. Whatever you need to do, make sure you get as much done as you can at that fuel stop. Stop regularly. 3 to 4 hours max is all you should be driving at a time before you take a break, okay? I know sometimes your excitement levels will be up. You know, you're a new driver. Sometimes that excitement level will be so high that you just want to keep on going, keep on going, keep on going. Don't burn yourself out, okay? After you've been driving a while, driving longer periods of time will be able to be done without burning yourself out. But honestly, even for those of us who have been driving for a long time, 3 to 4 hours max is really enough to pull over, go to the potty, and take a little bit of a rest outside of the truck. So definitely stop regularly, decompress, use some stress relief and fatigue battling tips. And usually it shouldn't take more than about 15 to 20 minutes for that fuel stop if you've planned it appropriately. Now, if you need to take a nap or if you need to eat, it could take longer, okay? But either way, stop regularly 3 to 4 hours max, okay? As far as the stress relief and battling fatigue, I do talk about that in a previous video, and I will link to that video here. So definitely check that out as well. All right, so here's the deal. You're sitting somewhere and you get a load plan, okay? First thing you want to do is Google the distance from where you'll be driving from to your pickup location. Then do the same thing from and to each stop along the way, including fuel stops. Divide the number of miles by 50 to come up with your general travel time and hours. Add in any DOT breaks you'll need, then add at least 1 additional hour per 10 hours of drive time. Also, add an additional 2 hours for each pickup or delivery. Round everything to the next quarter hour. This will give you a good idea of ETAs to give your dispatcher. If you feel you cannot make a certain time frame, immediately notify your dispatcher. If they still give you the load, you've at least given them a heads up that you're going to be late. Make sure this is done through electronic communications device so you have a record of the conversation. Do not call them. Okay? Don't call them, leave a message, whatever. No. There's no record of you letting that dispatcher know, hey, this is going to be a late load. Okay? Send it in on your Qualcomm or whatever other electronic device your company may use. But make sure that it's electronic. You know, if you don't have any of that, use email. We all have our phone on us all the time. Most of us have email. Use it, okay? Make sure that anything that you communicate with your dispatcher is in electronic format, okay? I'm going to go through a basic trip plan for you, okay? Try to follow along with me. Okay, I'm going to go through it kind of fast. Otherwise, this video could take all day, and we don't want that. But here's an example of some basic trip planning. Let's say you're in Atlanta, Georgia. It's noon on Monday. You're ready to go. You've been awake for a couple of hours. You have a full clock. You're well rested. Your dispatch looks like this. Dalton, Georgia pickup at 4 p.m. Fuel fill up at Pilot on I-75, exit 20 at Cleveland, Tennessee. Delivered to Akron, Ohio, Wednesday at 6 a.m. Can you pick up and deliver on time? Note any time difference in any of those stops from where you're starting to where you're going. Okay, make sure you know any time differences there. Okay, so breaking that dispatch down. From Atlanta, Georgia to Dalton, Georgia. Okay, you're looking at approximately 90 miles. Now, I want you to log everything at 50 miles per hour. Okay, or not log everything, but figure everything at 50 miles per hour. I want you to log everything as you do it. And chances are, well, no chances are anymore, your onboard logbook is going to log it for you as you do it. So, but it's about 90 miles. If you figure 50 miles per hour, it comes in just under 2 hours, right? But you're going to round up to the next quarter hour. So we're going to say it's going to take 2 hours to get to Dalton, Georgia. And honestly, going from Atlanta to Dalton, Georgia, the traffic there on 75, it can take that long. And longer if you run into any major traffic, any breakdowns, anything like that. It can take longer. But 2 hours is fairly safe, especially at the time of day we're talking about, right? Because you're supposed to be in Dalton by 4. Okay, it's noon now. You're supposed to be in Dalton by 4, so you've got 4 hours to go. It's going to take you roughly 2 hours to drive it. So, here's something I want to say about that. Don't leave right away. Okay, don't be like, oh, I'll go on up there and wait. No, you won't. No, you won't. But we'll get to that in a minute. What you're going to do first is you're going to do a basic trip plan. Okay, remember I said you want to check the mileage between every place that you need to go, right? Okay, so mileage between Dalton, Georgia and Atlanta is 90. Okay, your fuel fill up at Pilot on I-75 exit 20 at Cleveland, Tennessee is about 33 miles away from Dalton. Okay, so that's, divide that by 50 miles an hour. That is roughly 2/3 of an hour. Round that up to 45 minutes. Okay, so it's going to take you 45 minutes to get from Dalton to your stop, or to your fuel stop. Now, from your fuel stop, your deliveries in Akron, Ohio, Wednesday at 6 a.m. Okay, so you're going to check the mileage from that fuel stop to Akron, which is 565 miles. Divided by 50 miles an hour is 11.3 hours, and you're going to round that up to 11.5 hours. Okay. Now, again, these times are approximate and are good approximations for new drivers. Okay. But all of that said, once you get to know the roads, and you will, within your first couple of years of driving, you're going to know a majority of the interstates and major cities in the U.S., okay? And you'll learn that, hey, Akron, Ohio is about 45 minutes south of Cleveland, Ohio, okay? You'll learn that Akron, Ohio is so far from Columbus, Ohio. You'll learn, you'll know, especially you guys who live east of the Mississippi, you're going to know Ohio. You're going to know Indiana. You're going to know Illinois. You're going to know, most of the Midwest. You're going to have a good grasp of within a couple of years. So, all right, all of that said, what we're looking at is a total drive time of about 14.25 hours, and that's from Atlanta to Dalton, to your fuel stop, and then on up to Akron, okay? Load time, you want to schedule 2 hours. Plan 2 hours for time to get loaded. Break time, you're looking at least 11 hours of break time, and that includes a 10-hour DOT break, right? And then you want to add 1 hour for every 10 hours, right? Add 1 hour for every 10 hours of driving. Okay, so you got 14.25 total drive hours, so you're going to add 1 extra hour. Fuel, figure half an hour. Always figure half an hour for fuel. I know that might sound excessive, but here's the deal. You pull into a truck stop, you think, oh, I'm going to get right up on a fuel island. Wrong answer. You're 3 trucks back in line, okay? It happens. Sometimes it can take longer than a half hour. Sometimes it may only take you 10 minutes, but schedule half an hour for that fuel stop. Now, the total hours here is 28.75 hours. And what did I say? You round everything up to the next quarter hour. So you're looking at a total time from point A to point B of 29 hours. Some considerations here. Atlanta traffic on an I-75, probably want to add 30 minutes for travel time to Dalton. Okay, so here's what you're going to do. You're going to start on duty, do your on-duty pre-trip at 1:15 p.m. Now, by the time you get all that figured out, it's then went from 12 to 12:15. So you've got about an hour before you need to log on and do your pre-trip. Okay, you're going to leave Atlanta at about 1:30 p.m. That's about a 15-minute pre-trip. That's about what it should take. You're going to arrive at customer, hopefully at least 15 minutes early. And you probably will be, maybe even half hour early. That's acceptable. But you figure 1:15 plus 29 hours equals 6:15 p.m. on Tuesday. Okay, so let's say 6:30 p.m. Tuesday, which leaves you 11 and a half hours before your delivery time, which means, guess what? You can take another 10-hour break before you deliver, which means that you'll be plenty rested and means that you'll have a full clock for driving Wednesday after you get unloaded, okay? So go ahead. You've got an hour. Go to the bathroom, get your drink refilled, make sure it's handy, make sure your trip's mapped out. You've got a visual of it in your head. Guys, I can't I can't say this enough. GPS is great for what it's worth, but know your maps. Okay, have that map book. Actually, look at the map book when you're mapping out your trips. Okay, when you first get your dispatch, you look and see on a map book exactly what that trip is going to look like. Okay, and that way, if your GPS steers you wrong, you'll catch it. Okay, because you know in your head, in that little map that you're creating in your head, where you need to go. Okay, now this trip is a pretty simple trip. Okay, it's 75 all the way up to Cincinnati. It's 71 up through Columbus and on up toward Cleveland. And then what is that? I think that's 72 maybe that cuts over to Akron. I don't remember. It's been a while since I've been over that way, so that's just off the top of my head. Yeah, map your trip. Don't rely on GPS. Map your trip. If you have all your delivery info from dispatch, including your delivery numbers, a lot of times you don't get that until after you're loaded. Okay, but if you've got your delivery number, go ahead and call your customers. See if you can, call your delivery point. Say, hey, can I park there overnight when I get there tomorrow? Maybe you can unload me, tomorrow instead of having to wait till Wednesday morning. Now, if they will unload you Tuesday, you want to make sure you get there as quickly as possible and with plenty of time on your clock. So you know that today you need to drive as far as possible before taking your 10-hour DOT break. Now keep in mind, this means you'll probably be shutting down around 2 a.m. Parking will be an issue. Where will you be at 2 a.m. approximately? Is there any parking in that area? Should you shut down sooner if you see a good place to park with parking available? Yes. Okay. But not too early. When you leave your fuel stop, you'll have approximately 8 hours available to drive on your clock. Okay. And 8 hours times 50 mile an hour equals about 400 miles. Now, Akron's 565 miles away, so you'll be approximately 3 hours short. So you'll work backward from Akron. 3 hours equals 150 miles. Work backwards 150 miles. This puts you between Cincinnati and Columbus. That's not a great stretch to find parking after 6 p.m., but it can be done. All right. What you're going to do is you're going to pull out your trucking app. You're going to find every possible place to park in that stretch. Okay. Now, once you find your top preferred places in that stretch, once you get into that stretch, start hopping from one stop to another. Okay. You may find plenty of spots, or you may happen to catch someone who runs nights and they're just now pulling out to start their day. Okay. But here's what I don't want you to do. Don't wait until you have 1 hour on your clock to start thinking about parking spots. It's not going to work. You should have already had in your mind before you get to that last hour about where you wanted to stop. And in that last hour, you're going to start your hopping from those places that you already know are there to find a parking spot. Okay? Don't park on ramps, guys. On ramps, off ramps, don't do it. Most states now it's illegal. More to the point, it's dangerous. Okay? So, don't park on ramps. Do not assume that if you see a way station on the map that you're going to be able to park there. Not all way stations, especially in Ohio, allow you to park overnight. So, keep that in mind. Don't assume that a Walmart or other shopping center will allow overnight parking. Some do, some don't. Okay, if you pull into a place and there's a bunch of other trucks parked there, there's a good chance that they do allow parking, even though they might even have a sign out that says no parking, no overnight parking. A lot of places put that up for insurance purposes. That way, if anything does happen, it's on you, not on them. Okay. Nonetheless, pay attention to your surroundings. If it's obviously used on a regular basis as a truck parking lot, there's a pretty good chance that it's okay. If you pull in a place and there's only one truck and you see somebody driving around in a little security vehicle, chances are good you probably shouldn't be there, and they're probably going to get kicked out or towed. But pay attention to your surroundings and know what looks good, what doesn't. Always have money on hand for overnight parking, okay? Because there are places where you can park, but you're going to have to pay to park, okay? And they can range anywhere from $10 to $20 a night. Now, you go up in the Northeast or you go out on the West Coast, it can be a lot higher. You can look at $20, $30, $40 a night for parking, okay? So make sure that you always have cash on you for parking. Most industrial areas will allow on-street parking for trucks, but again, watch your signs. Ultimately, off the interstate at various points, you're going to see industrial areas, okay? If you can jump off and get in there, your clock's running down, you don't have time to mess around no more. Pull into that industrial area, there's a good chance that you'll be able to find a place in there that doesn't have a sign that says no street parking or no parking, whatever. So watch for that kind of thing. And other places that usually allow truck parking are the big sporting goods stores. But on-street parking in an industrial area, I want to say this, okay? Make sure you're close to a street light and make sure your doors are locked, including your trailer door, okay? If your company doesn't provide you with a padlock, make sure you buy one, and if your door is not sealed with a bolt lock, put a padlock on there, okay? Just be safe. Do everything you can to be safe. In the RV world, we call this stealth camping. Basically, pull up on street, shut down, jump in the back, go to bed. Okay. Most of the time, nobody's going to know you're in there, and you're going to be okay. I've never had a problem in 20 plus years of driving. I've never been mugged, never been hijacked, none of that garbage. Okay. And I've been all over the United States. So, don't worry too much, but do everything that you can, that you know to do, to stay safe. All right. So that's all if they'll take you, right? You want to beat feet as fast as you can and get there quickly, okay? But if they won't take you early, but you can park at the customer overnight, go ahead and park any time after 4 hours of driving from the fuel stop. Okay, you leave your fuel stop, you get up into Kentucky, feel free to find a place to shut down for the night. Okay, it's already going to be late evening. Go ahead and find your place, get shut down, get a good 10-hour break in, no more than your 10 hours. Do your 10 hours and then get rolling, okay? Because once you get to your customer, you'll still be able to take another 10-hour break. But if you waste too much time on your first 10-hour break, you're going to cut yourself short for your second break, okay? Which means that you could totally mess up your clock. All right. So, if you can park overnight at the customer, get there as quickly as you can the next day. And that assures that you're going to get the most out of Wednesday with plenty of drive time available. Because your delivery's at 6:30 a.m. and now you or 6 a.m. and once you're done with that delivery, you've got all your drive time left for the day, all 11 hours of drive time. Why? Because you parked right there at the customer. Okay. Now, if they won't take you early and you can't park overnight, get as close as you can on Tuesday before taking your 10. Okay? So Monday, you can go ahead and do the 4 hours. Shut down at a decent hour. And then Tuesday, get up after your 10 hours and get up there as close as you can to take your next 10-hour break. That way, again, you still have the most available time that you can get for Wednesday after you make your delivery. Also, don't take off from your second 10-hour DOT sooner than necessary to arrive at customer for appointment time, because if you start early, you'll be burning your clock, sitting and waiting, which means less time available to drive and less money made. And that is the name of the game, right? Miles for money. And miles are made in time. So time equals miles equals money. So the more time you can save on that logbook, the better you can learn to manage that logbook and your time in general, the more money you're going to make out on the road. So that's all for today. I hope I helped you a little bit. Any questions, feel free to drop them down below in the comments. Please like and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time. And between now and then, you keep that shiny side up, that dirty side down, and we'll catch you on the flip-flop.